The moment I saw her face through the cracked window, her eyes cold and calculating, I knew the game wasn't over. Karen wasn't just leaving quietly. No, she was planning something worse. I could feel it in the way her jaw tightened, in the way her hands clenched the doorframe like she was holding back a storm. But I didn't flinch. I had learned long ago that silence and patience were more powerful than screams or threats. This time, I was going to let her reveal herself. I stayed perfectly still, watching her for what felt like hours, until she finally turned away. The house was dead silent again, but the air around me shifted. I slipped out the back door, moving quietly through the shadows toward the barn. I could hear her footsteps pounding in my mind, her fury, her desperation. She'd come back, and I knew she wouldn't come alone. I reached into my coat pocket, clutching the old, battered key I'd hidden there. The one I'd found in Karen's recent package of photos. Proof she'd been sneaking into my property at night trying to bait me into a trap. That key was my insurance, my secret weapon. I wasn't going to let her steal what I'd fought so hard to protect. I tiptoed to the barn, unlocked a small hidden compartment, and pulled out a box I had never opened. Inside were maps, old documents, and a rusted heavy-duty lock. I clicked the lock open, revealing a collection of things I'd kept hidden. Letters from my grandmother, old photographs, and a small, worn leather pouch. Inside that pouch was a stack of legal papers, deeds, and an ancient tarnished silver locket I'd never worn. This wasn't just about land anymore. It was about legacy, about what my ancestors had fought for long before me. I knew that somewhere in those papers was the key to stopping her once and for all. I spread out the maps on the work table, eyes scanning every line, every boundary, every mark that told the story of what was truly mine, and what she could never take. But as I studied the documents, a new thought struck me. I remembered a story my grandfather used to tell about the old creek bed that ran beneath the land, a hidden underground spring that fed the entire valley. It was a secret no one knew anymore, buried beneath layers of development and neglect. If I could find it, if I could access that spring, I could control the water source, something she never suspected. I grabbed my lantern and slipped out into the night, moving toward the old trail I'd kept overgrown for years. My boots crunched softly on the dirt, every step deliberate. The rain had just started again, a gentle patter that seemed to wash away the silence, filling the space with something almost alive. I reached the spot where I remembered the creek crossing, and I knelt down, feeling the damp earth beneath my fingers. Suddenly I heard a noise behind me, her voice sharp and tense calling my name. I froze, heart pounding. "You think you can hide from me?" she sneered. "You've pushed too far. This isn't over." Her footsteps grew closer, but I didn't turn. I kept my eyes on the ground, waiting for the right moment. That's when I saw it, an almost imperceptible crack in the earth, a slight shift in the soil. I dug carefully with my hands, heart racing. The earth was softer here, looser. I clawed at the dirt, and after a few tense moments I uncovered a small, rusted metal hatch. It was hidden beneath layers of moss and leaf litter, a relic from old times. I pried it open, revealing a narrow tunnel that descended into darkness. This was it, the secret spring, long forgotten and buried. I took a deep breath, knowing that whatever was inside could change everything. If I could tap into that underground water, I could hold her hostage in her own game. No more threats, no more lies. As I slid into the tunnel, I felt the weight of history pressing down on me. I remembered my father's words. The land remembers everything, even what's buried beneath it. I was about to find out just how much that land could remember and how far I was willing to go to protect it. Suddenly, a flash of light flickered behind me. I turned, startled. She was there, standing at the edge of the trail, silhouette outlined by the glow of her phone. "You think you're clever," she spat, "but you don't know what you're digging for, or what I'm willing to do to stop you." I didn't answer. Instead, I pressed my hand against the cool, damp earth, feeling the pulse of the spring beneath. She couldn't see what I saw, that I was already one step ahead, that her threats would never reach the depths I was willing to go. I took a deep breath and stepped further into the tunnel. Whatever secrets lay at the bottom, I knew they would be my ace. I had the land, I had the truth, and soon I would have the power to end her control forever. The night was falling fast, and I was ready to face whatever came next, because this wasn't just about land. It was about reclaiming everything she tried to steal. The silence was heavy, but it was mine now, and I was going to use it to break her. Would you like me to continue further? Or focus on specific twists or revelations? Absolutely. Here's a continuation that plunges straight into the action, starting from the climax of the previous chapter, full of suspense, twists, and powerful revelations. It's designed to keep the reader on the edge of their seat with simple yet impactful language. The earth beneath my hands trembled as I pried open the rusted hatch. Darkness spilled out, thick and cold, like secrets buried for decades. I hesitated only a moment, then slipped inside. The tunnel was narrow, claustrophobic, smelling of damp stone and history I thought I understood. But I was about to learn how much I had underestimated what lay beneath the land I had fought so long to protect. Behind me, I heard her footsteps, soft, deliberate, closing in. Karen's voice echoed faintly from above, sharp and mocking. You think you own this land? You think you control everything just because you've built your little fortress? Her words bounced off the tunnel walls, but I ignored them. I had no room for her noise. I had a purpose. The tunnel sloped downward, and I had to crawl on my hands and knees, feeling for the old stones that lined the path. My fingers brushed against something cold, metal, heavy and strange. I pulled it free and found it was an old pipe, part of what looked like a network of hidden waterways. My heart skipped a beat. This was it, the secret spring my grandfather had told me about. The one nobody knew was still alive beneath the land. A sudden gust of wind pushed me back. From above, her voice came again, louder this time, angry. You can hide all you want, but I will find you. I will destroy everything you love. Her words were venom, but I had already known she was capable of anything. That's why I'd prepared for this moment. I pressed my hand against the cold pipe, feeling the faint pulse of water flowing beneath. If I could tap into that, I could control the entire valley. Water, land, power. I knew this was her weakness. The one thing she'd never expect. The thing that could turn her own schemes against her. I moved faster now, crawling deeper into the tunnel, following the pipes and the faint glow of the underground stream. As I advanced, I spotted a faint flicker of light ahead, a tiny opening barely big enough for me to squeeze through. I pushed myself forward, heart pounding, and emerged into a small cavern, the ceiling dripping water. And there it was. An old, abandoned well, sealed off but still intact. It was the source, the heart of the hidden spring. I reached into my pocket, pulling out a battered old key. It looked insignificant, but it was the key to everything I'd uncovered. Proof of ownership, of history, of rights. I slipped it into the rusty lock on the sealed lid. Suddenly, I heard her scream from above, echoing through the tunnel. Stop! Don't open that. You don't know what you're doing. Her voice cracked, desperate, but I didn't hesitate. I turned the key. The lid groaned and shifted, revealing a dark, gurgling hole. Water surged up, cold, clear, and rushing. I stared into the spring's depths, knowing that this discovery changed everything. I could flood her plans, control her, access and finally silence her threats. But just as I was about to climb out, I saw her shadow at the tunnel's entrance, blocking the light. She had followed me. Her face was twisted with fury and something else. Fear. A flicker of realization crossed her eyes. She'd never seen me this determined, this ready. Stop! She yelled, lunging toward me. But I was faster. I grabbed the old pipe, turning it to direct the water flow away from her, flooding the tunnel's mouth and the surrounding earth. The rushing water roared like a beast awakened, spilling out into the valley, flooding the old creek bed, rushing toward her house. She stumbled back, eyes wide with panic. No, you're ruining everything. she screamed. But I knew better. I was just beginning. I climbed out of the tunnel, water splashing behind me, and turned to face her. Her hands shook as she reached for her phone, probably to call someone, maybe the police, maybe her backup. But I was already moving. I had anticipated this moment. From my coat pocket, I pulled a small device I'd hidden there. The same one I'd shown Nora earlier, a tiny recorder with a GPS tracker. I pressed the button and a faint beep signaled it was live. Every word she spoke, every move she made was now recorded and tracked. Her face drained of color. She knew her game was over. Her threats had been hollow, her schemes exposed. All her manipulations, her spying, her drone circles, they were now part of a trail leading straight to her. I looked her in the eyes and whispered, "The land remembers, Karen. It's been waiting for a voice to tell its story. And now it's yours." She shrieked, backing away as the floodwaters continued to surge. Her house was immediately at risk. Water rising, windows rattling, the ground trembling beneath. Her feet. She tried to scream, but her voice was drowned in the roar of the spring, the power she'd underestimated. I didn't stay to watch her fall apart. I turned and ran back toward the ridge, heart pounding, knowing I'd just uncovered a secret that could end her reign, one she'd never see coming. The land had spoken. It had spoken loud and clear, and I had finally listened. Would you like me to continue with the next part, or focus on specific twists or revelations? Certainly. Here's a powerful, suspenseful, and unforgettable ending, starting directly from the climax of the previous chapter, diving straight into the action, with twists and revelations that leave a lasting impression. The floodwaters raged like a beast unleashed, crashing through the old creek bed and spilling into the valley. I watched her house tremble as water surged beneath it, the windows rattling wildly. Karen's screams echoed over the rising deluge, her face a mask of shock and terror. She had played her hand, and now she was losing everything: her control, her reputation, her sense of safety. I stood at the ridge, heart pounding, clutching the small device with the live recording. Every word she'd uttered, every frantic plea caught and captured. I knew this was the blow that would shatter her future, her threats, her manipulations, all exposed in one final act of nature's justice. Suddenly, the ground beneath my feet shifted. The earth cracked and split, sending a shockwave through the land. I stumbled but caught myself, eyes widening. The flood wasn't just water. It was a warning. A crack had opened in the earth, revealing a hidden chamber beneath the old spring, the very source of the land's secret power. I moved closer, heart racing. From the crack I saw it, an ancient rusted metal box half buried in the soil. It looked old, but its presence here was no coincidence. Carefully, I knelt and brushed away, the dirt revealing a weathered lock. My fingers trembled as I reached into my coat pocket, pulling out a key I'd hidden long ago, an heirloom from my grandmother, passed down through generations. With a deep breath, I turned the key. The lock clicked open, and I lifted the lid. Inside was a leather-bound journal, old pages yellowed and fragile, filled with faded handwriting, and beneath it a small sealed envelope. I hesitated only a moment, then tore open the envelope. Inside was a photograph, a black and white image of my great-grandfather, standing proudly beside a spring that was unmistakably the same one now, exposed. On the back, in hurried script, was a note. "This land holds more than water. It holds secrets, power beyond understanding. Protect it." My mind spun. This spring wasn't just a water source. It was a hidden conduit, a place where ancient forces had been kept alive, unseen by modern eyes. And Karen? She had only scratched the surface, thinking she could control the land with fences, threats, and drones. But she didn't know the land's true strength. I looked up just in time to see her stumble out of her house, soaked and trembling, clutching her phone as if it were a lifeline. Her eyes locked onto the chamber I'd uncovered, and her face twisted with a mixture of horror and greed. You don't understand," I said quietly, voice steady. "This isn't just water. This is the heart of the valley. It's been here, long before us, and it will be here long after. She backed away, trembling. You're crazy. You can't. But I already knew she was too late. The land had spoken. Its voice was in the flood, in the crack, in the ancient chamber now exposed. The power I'd uncovered was beyond anything she could comprehend. It wasn't just about land. It was about something older, something deeper, something that could change everything. From behind, I heard sirens approaching, local authorities, neighbors, everyone drawn by the chaos. But I didn't care. I turned back to the chamber and placed my hand on the old journal. The land had revealed its secret, and I was ready to claim it. I stepped back from the opening, just as the floodwaters continued to pour out, sweeping toward her house. The ground beneath her crumbled further, and suddenly, the earth heaved with a thunderous sound, as if awakening from a centuries-long slumber. The chamber sealed itself again, as if the land itself was rebelling against intrusion. Karen's scream pierced the chaos. She tried to run, but the ground beneath her feet gave way. A deep fissure opened, swallowing her whole. The last thing I saw her do was reach out, desperately grabbing at nothing. Her house was consumed in seconds, pulled into the earth's hungry maw. The floodwaters receded as suddenly as they had come, leaving behind a silence so heavy it pressed into my bones. The land was still, the earth settling as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. I had seen what was buried, heard what the land had whispered. I looked at the small device in my hand, the recording still playing, capturing every moment, every secret. I pressed stop, then carefully placed it inside my coat. This wasn't just proof, it was a warning. I turned away from the fissure and walked slowly back up the ridge. The storm had passed, but something else had begun, something far more powerful than any fence or legal boundary. The land had chosen to speak, and I had listened. As I reached the top, I looked back at the chaos below. Karen's house was gone. The valley was quiet again, almost sacred. I knew that no matter what anyone said, I had unlocked the true legacy of this land, one rooted not in laws but in ancient strength, in secrets protected by the earth itself. And I was its keeper now. The wind swept through the trees, whispering, softly. It carried a new message, one of warning, of respect, of power. The land had spoken, and I had finally understood. I had won not with violence, but with patience, knowledge, and a truth that no one could ever take away. This was the end. But in the depths of the earth, something stirs, waiting for those who dare to listen again. Would you like me to extend this further, or craft an even more shocking climax?